Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast. Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Bindu Reddy. Bindu Reddy is the CEO and co-founder of RealityEngines.ai, now called Abacus.ai. Before starting Abacus.ai, she was the general manager for AI verticals at AWS AI. Her organization created and launched Amazon Personalize and Amazon Forecast, the first of their kind AI services that enable organizations to create custom deep learning models easily. Prior to that, she was the CEO and co-founder of Post Intelligence, a deep learning company that created services for social media influencers that was acquired by Uber. Bindu was previously at Google, where she was the head of product for Google Apps, including Docs, Spreadsheets, Slides, Sites, and Blogger. Bindu has a master's degree from Dartmouth and a Bachelor of Technology degree from the Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai. Well, good afternoon, Bindu. Welcome to the show. I wanted to jump right into a question I really had. I just love your career journey as a woman in STEM. You started out as an engineer, then you moved into roles like head of product at Google, general manager at Amazon's deep learning, and now CEO of your own company. Could you share with our audience what was the key to your success thus far?
One of the things that people kind of over-index on is how their career trajectory should be. But my advice to young women across the world who are looking at careers in STEM is to first focus on what is it that you really want to work on. Do you want to be a developer? Do you want to be a product manager? Do you want to be do you want to be a general manager, right? And that takes time. So if you look at the trajectory or the course of the various different jobs I held, I had a job as a product manager early on in my career. And even before that, like you mentioned, I was an engineer. And then after that, I was fortunate enough to be a CEO. And it really allowed me to kind of viscerally understand what it means to do a particular job and what jobs I can do well and what jobs I enjoy doing well. And that experimentation over time has led me here. And I feel like this is probably the most perfect job I can do. As the CEO of an AI company, I feel like my technical background is leveraged. And at the same time, I feel great about learning new technologies and new kind of innovations that happen in the AI field. And it also helps me kind of really exercise my product skills, trying to build a product in this space. So I would say, experiment with various different job roles, but also gravitate towards what you're really passionate about.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Bindu. That's just awesome. I want to really dive into about your company. Just tell us a little bit about the company, the recent news around your funding, and what does this mean for your company now that you've had some capital infused into it?
Okay, so the name of the company is Abacus.ai. You can find it on Google if you type in Abacus.ai. And fundamentally, what the company is trying to do is democratize AI for organizations of all sizes. So what we see, at least, what everybody I think has noticed over the last decade or so, is a lot of big tech companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook have really taken AI to the next level. And what I mean by that is anytime they think about any project internally, they actually think about how machine learning or AI can help them turbocharge that project. So they've taken a very AI first approach, and that approach has benefited them immensely. Some of these companies now are over $1 trillion in market cap, and a large part of that success can be attributed right back to AI and more specifically to deep learning. But if you look at the kind of the non-big tech companies, literally every other organization, they have really struggled kind of putting deep learning systems in production. And part of that has been this problem of having to get various different folks involved in a particular project internally to make that project a success and to deploy a deep learning system in production. So fundamentally what Abacus does is we enable organizations to easily deploy deep learning systems in production. So the idea there is to say, hey, let's say you're a retailer like 1-800-Flowers, and you can imagine, say, 10 or 15 places where you can use an AI or a deep learning model to optimize your customer experience. Today, if you want to go do that yourself, it probably will take you a few years because you have to first build up your team, then you've got to get the right tools for your team, and then you've got to then experiment with these models and push that out. What we do is basically, kind of accelerate or turbocharge that whole process so that within a matter of a few weeks, you're up and running with the first model, and within a matter of a few months, you're up and running with five different models to optimize your customer experience. So we're basically bringing the kind of of high-tech AI that big tech companies have access to the world in general. I was going to continue with the funding news as well, but that's kind of the vision. In terms of the funding, we've raised a couple of rounds. This is our second round, the Series A round. The first round was led by Eric Schmidt and Ram Shriram. The second was led by Mike Volpe, who's very, very well known in the infrastructure VC space. And we're very fortunate to have Ram and Mike be on the board of our company. And we're excited to kind of grow our team, our research team, as well as our engineering team to over 35 people over the next few months.
It is simply amazing. I'm so excited to follow your success and see where this goes. So thanks for sharing that. Bindu, let's talk about technologies you leverage. You talked a little bit about deep learning, AI, ML, right? What are the biggest areas that you'll be developing solutions for, and maybe it's even for this COVID environment? Maybe you could share that.
So, we generally believe that, what you basically said, AI and deep learning can be applied across many, many different places. And now, especially during the pandemic, here's what's happening, right? We feel like the digital kind of revolution has been accelerated immensely. So right now, over the last few months, we're talking about everything going digital. Your consumption patterns, so you're buying everything online, you're buying your food online, your communication, of course. Everybody's now using Zoom 24/7 almost. And finally, your entertainment. So that's also online. And what this means is fundamentally every single interaction by every single person across all of these different dimensions can be utilized by an AI to make that interaction better. And so we've seen this huge kind of interest over the last few weeks from various different sectors. And then there is actually kind of solving the COVID problem, which is kind of related in the sense that how can AI help in the healthcare world? And even there, we're seeing a lot of interest from healthcare companies which are looking at kind of clinical trials data, as well as, let's say, vaccine kind of trials data to see how you can kind of mine the kinds of patients where a vaccine might be effective or where a particular drug might be effective. So overall, I would say we ourselves, Abacus AI, is working with 3 classes of companies now, especially during the pandemic. The first one, as I mentioned, is more in the healthcare space, where we're looking at accelerating clinical trials, not necessarily for COVID, but for other drugs as well. Second is in the manufacturing space. This is a big deal. The whole supply chain has been disrupted. We want to be able to forecast better how many of items you will sell in the future, how much of a particular SKU you'll need in a particular location. So we've gotten a lot of interest from supply chain companies like Flex and kind of like other companies which are interested in like optimizing that process. And then finally, the third one is the e-commerce space, which is for sure going crazy. I think some e-commerce sites are seeing anywhere between 30 to like 80% uptick in their traffic, and they all want to make sure that they are delivering contextualized, personalized experiences using deep learning.
That's awesome. I really do like the promise of AI and what's coming in the future to help streamline and help provide more, accurate forecasting around some of the supply chain issues that we're dealing with as of late. So thank you for sharing that. So Bindu, this is the big question. Our audience wants to know more about you. So can you share something from your career experience that would be helpful for those either looking to grow their career in STEM or maybe jump into entrepreneurship?
Sure. Yeah. So I think my big kind of feedback to folks is that entrepreneurship is a mixed bag, but the pros far outweigh the cons. What I do see, to be honest, amongst like young people is there is a little bit of kind of movement towards joining some large tech company and having a great career there. And there's no doubt that that is something which is very lucrative. But entrepreneurship comes with a lot of its own pros and cons. And most of that has to do with kind of experimentation and innovation and kind of like going into places where no one else has gone. So from my own career perspective, I've started 2 companies so far, both of them in completely different fields. So our first company was around social media advertising. This was in 2008, so almost a decade ago, when social media was not a thing. Facebook was like, I would say 100x smaller than what it is today. And we had a vision that in the future, we're going to see the rise of the the influencer. And the influencer is going to be able to like broadcast and promote things that they care about. That was the vision behind that first company. And it was mostly a business model company where technology was an enabler in making that business model successful. But over time, we started realizing the power of machine learning and how much it had improved our business model as we built that company, and realized that what is a much more powerful and much more interesting vision is to kind of make that kind of machine learning and deep learning technology available to all. And that's kind of the vision behind the second company now. So what I would say is, as long as you're experimenting and trying new things, and even if that is coming at the cost of not making as much money, it's a much more fulfilling experience. You're also being able to innovate and like change things, and you're able to like make the world a different place as opposed to just like racking up a lot of money. So from my own experience, I feel like changing based on the time. That company made a lot of sense. 12 years ago, it was a little early for its time, but it was great. This one's probably a little early for its time, but it's good to be, the first people somewhere, pretty much go where no one else has gone before. So that would be my advice as well as my experience.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. In both cases you just mentioned, you're really a pioneer in this, which is just simply amazing, especially for those young women that are in STEM today or would like to jump into entrepreneurship. I think they have a great role model to look to now. So I appreciate you sharing that. Bindu, I just want to personally thank you. It was a pleasure having you on the show today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Bye for now.